I'm here at Canine Assistants, which is an amazing organization that trains dogs to assist people with medical conditions and disabilities. The reason why I love this organization is that it helps these people have a new lease on life, but it trains dogs using positive reinforcement methods only. And I think when you see it, the results speak for themselves. So join me today as we take you into a day in the life of this amazing organization to see how dogs literally change people's lives. I'm Victoria Stilwell. Join me as I travel the US and discover stories of dogs and humans impacting each other's lives for the better. This is American Dog. Run I think the most incredible organization. What inspired you to set it up?
Well, it's my privilege certainly to be able to do this all the time, and it came from a personal experience. When I was 16, I woke up one morning and got out of bed to go to the bathroom, and I fell on the floor. Several days later, I was diagnosed as having multiple sclerosis, and because I was so young then, and it was a long time ago, the prognosis was pretty grim. So we'd always loved animals, and my father had just seen an article in a magazine about a woman in California who was working with dogs to help people who use wheelchairs. Bonnie Bergen is her name. He contacted her and she said, you know, we have 3 dogs in training. Georgia's a long way away. We really are not going to be able to provide a dog for your daughter. And he sat, I didn't know that he was contacting her, and he came and sat on the edge of my bed one night and said, you know, I talked to this woman and unfortunately she can't provide a dog, but I have an idea. Maybe this is what you're meant to do. Let's do this.
How long has Canine Assistants been in effect?
This is our 21st year now.
21st year.
Yeah,
That's amazing to have that. So obviously it's very successful.
This organization was founded on one thing, and that's Jennifer's passion. She's super passionate about what she does. She's super passionate about the people that she helps. And it's been the generosity of others that have kept it going. And, you know, since we don't charge anything for any of the services.
You charge nothing. So when people come and get a dog,
that's right.
It's for free.
It's for free. We fly them here. They come from all over the country. We fly them here. We put them up at a hotel down the street for 2 weeks, and we provide their meals and their transportation over here. They spend 2 weeks working here, either at Canine Assistants or out in the community doing things like riding public transportation, so that when they get home they'll have a feel for what it is, what it's like to be moving around with a dog. But they don't pay anything, and so it's only because of the generosity of others that we're able to do what we do.
Some of the recipients here today, tell me a little bit about them. Certainly CIARA with the seizure dog. Her condition is very, very serious, isn't it? Seizure alert dogs are relatively new, are they?
At this moment, no one can say for certain to what stimuli the dog is responding when they anticipate that a seizure is oncoming. We say seizure response dogs. We are very close, I think, to figuring out what this is. And as a matter of fact, we're undertaking a research project with a university to determine, you know, to what the dog is responding. And I think it's going to be scent-based detection. Because I've seen dogs that have never, I mean, they were born in my hands. They've never seen anybody have a seizure. And they know. And when they know, it upsets them.
All right, so tell us your name.
My name is Kira.
And what is your dog's name?
Yukon.
Yukon. And what does Yukon do for you?
He's a walking dog and he helps me with all of my seizures.
When Yukon senses that, he's going to be able to go and tell your mom. Is that right?
Well, he usually runs and barks at my mom and I have a big, ginormous seizure.
So really he's picking up on the scent just before she's about to have a seizure?
So far that's what he's done. I mean, she's only been with him for 10 days.
Yes.
And the 2 that he's alerted to, it's been before the seizure.
How long before the seizure?
15 minutes before the seizure.
15 minutes. So that really gives ample time, doesn't it? How is this going to change your life?
Tremendously. She is a very spirited girl, as you can see, and right now has little to no independence because we can't leave her. She's waited a long time for Yukon. It's been 5.5 years. And last summer I found her unconscious on the bathroom floor after she'd had a seizure and fallen, and I didn't know it. I thought the noise I'd heard was her closing the door, and it was actually her head hitting the floor. So she now never goes to the bathroom unless somebody's with her. So just something as simple as that, to even just being left alone to play with her brother, who is 4, and he now runs to get me if I'm cooking dinner and they're in the living room. So it gives me a peace of mind for her safety, but it gives her a sense of independency that she didn't have before.
What happens at nighttime?
Kira used to have 150 seizures a day.
150 seizures a day?
150 a day. She was in a helmet and couldn't talk or walk. And then we put her on a special diet called the ketogenic diet, and it stopped the daily seizures, but she still would have 45-minute seizures once a month, every month. We changed medication. Now she has, instead of 1 long seizure a month, she has 2 to 5 short ones a week. So for the last 5 years, I've slept with Kira in an effort to keep her safe at night in case she has a seizure. But now Yukon's going to start doing that. So it might take a couple weeks for the transition, but eventually he'll be in there and I'll be in my room so that if she has a seizure, he'll come get me.
Talking about scent, ALISON with diabetes, is that scent related?
We know that dogs have an easy time, relatively speaking, detecting high and low blood sugars, and the change in odor in your mouth and your saliva, sweat. So when Stuart knows that ALISON's blood sugar is high or low, it's definitely scent-based.
Can you tell me how you trained Stuart to recognize a high-low blood sugar level?
We started by exposing him just to the scent itself. In multiple, we actually use little scent canisters, and we let him, come up and smell it. And as he smelled it, we would, click or say yes and mark that was the scent that we wanted him to smell for. At first, every canister had the scent we wanted, and then 1 would have a blank, and then 2 would have a blank, and finally, we were able to move it around and put it in different people's hands, and he could still find it.
So now you're older, you say you can't feel when a low or a high is coming on, so you really rely on Stuart to be able to tell you.
Yes.
How is this going to change your life?
I have to check my blood sugar once an hour.
Once an hour?
Yeah, and I mean, with Stuart, it would help. I wouldn't have to check as often because he could tell me when I needed to check.
So what will happen if you didn't have a dog to alert you?
If I didn't have a dog to alert me and I didn't feel the blood sugar coming on, which I don't usually do, then I could, if I'm too low, I could go into a coma or a seizure. And if I'm too high, same exact thing, coma or a seizure.
So you're 13 years old, you want to go to the mall by yourself, you do not want your mother to come along with you.
Yes.
You're going to take your dog instead.
Exactly.
Does your experience make you very empathetic towards other people's experience?
I do think that I am able to understand sort of from their position what it's like, that it's not just that you can't pick up your pen, it's that everything in your life is 100 times more difficult. I mean, like Sam, what that young man did for this country is something that I don't know that any of us could ever repay. I mean, he was physically wounded and he was emotionally nearly destroyed.
Where were you stationed?
I was stationed in Fort Bragg and had a deployment over Iraq.
In Iraq. How long were you in Iraq for?
1 tour.
Now, what gave you the idea of getting a service dog?
I've always had animals back home, and I did go to PTSD inpatient for 8 months in West Virginia, and my therapy told me, Sam, I think you need a dog in your life. And she told me about the program, and since then was like a light bulb. All I could think about is waiting on her to come in my life.
How long did you have to wait?
I've waited 3.5 years now.
3.5 years.
Yes.
What was life like before, after you came back from Iraq?
Before actually getting deployed, I think everything was normal. I'm the type that I'm out all the time. I just love life. I like to work a lot. After coming back, I just start having a lot of trouble sleeping, nightmares. Couldn't put my hand on the knob of my own apartment and just get out because I just were so anxious and just can't. I honestly hated people. I never had a successful relationship. I wanted to go back to school and couldn't do it. Too many people, too many students get on my nerves. Didn't understand why, so my only comfort zone was just to stay home and deal with it. And I would say that in the sake of the people that helped me here. I really don't like talking about it, but I appreciate how much they've helped me. I did overdose a few times. My doctor one day asked me after getting back, is there any hope in your life that you're looking for? I guess they're trying to make sure that I'm having a hope and I'm not having any symptoms of suicide anymore. So the only thing I could think of was getting my dog. I didn't know if she was a she or a he, so I said just waiting on my dog.
Why do you think it is having a dog by your side? What does she make you feel?
My mind pretty much is focusing on her and trying to see where she's at and how she looks at me and connecting with her, then worry about who's behind my back and who's that guy in the corner, what he's doing, and all that. My focus shifts a little bit, and
so
it makes me a little bit calm in a way.
Now you have her.
Yeah.
So the future is going to be a lot brighter for you.
Yeah, I'm excited about going back home, go back to school. I did sign up for a few classes before, but I never made it because I couldn't take it. So this time I'm excited to make it different.
Chris, you're the head trainer here at Canine Assistants. How do you go about starting this whole process?
It takes about 18 months of training for the dogs to be ready to go with a recipient. So I get a hold of the puppies when they're about 7 weeks. We build a friendship and a trust and a bond, and that's how we move through training, is they trust me and I trust them. What
is your sort of method of creating that trust and creating that bond?
I have to have a relationship with the dog. I don't want it to be, just a one-sided relationship where I ask for stuff and they do it for me. I have to sort of build their trust. And I start with something just very simple, which is this, and it's just the settle command. And I just put them in sort of a vulnerable state, like they're belly up and they're unsure. And we just sort of practice learning that being in a submissive position is safe and it's okay, and they're not in danger, they're protected, and they know that I have them safe. A relationship with an animal is no different. You have to show that you're a worthy leader and that you can be trusted with that relationship. And this is the very start right here. So by the end of their training, they should know around 90 commands. But we start simple, just like everyone. We start with sit and shake and down and roll and heel and lap and off and stay. Those are the most important. That's sort of the fundamentals, the building blocks of all training. I am physically capable of dominating this dog, right? I can say, you're gonna sit and you'll sit. But a recipient who is a quadriplegic is never going to be able to say, you'll sit because I'll tell you to sit. The dog will be like, well, how are you going to make me? Our dogs have to enjoy working, so even when they have the choice of whether they should work or they shouldn't, they'll do it because they enjoy work. these dogs work really hard and they dedicate the first 2 years of their life to training, and then they're going to dedicate the rest of their life to their person. And so at the very least they deserve our respect and our love, and they certainly shouldn't deal with punishment. And that's what we try and instill in these little guys is work is fun and it's good, right?
Our last audit, it was about $25,000 a dog to train and place and care for. The recipients are extremely important to us. The dogs are too. You know, they're our dogs. We're responsible for them. That's why if someone comes and gets a dog from us and they can't afford to properly take care of that dog when they leave here, we cover that cost for the life of the dog. Because we can't send our dogs out with someone that is having a difficult time feeding themselves or taking themselves to the doctor. We're the only organization that I'm aware of that'll do that.
It's hard not to get attached to the recipients. I know that you get attached to every single one of them. I particularly became very fond of Charlie. What is his condition?
He has a neuromuscular disease called spinal muscular atrophy, so it's genetic and he was born with it. We didn't start seeing signs until he was probably 4, 5, 6 months old. But yes, it's genetic and he was born with it. So
okay.
He's always been...
He's had a chair and he's always been like that.
He got his first chair when he was like about a little older, 18 months.
Okay.
So he's been driving in his chair since then.
Now, what is it like, Mom and Dad, for Charlie on a daily basis?
Other than being on his computer, he's able to play on his computer, but other than that, if he's not in his chair, he's dependent on Mom and Dad or somebody for everything. If he drops something, he can't pick it up. If he wanted the lights turned on or anything brought back to him, he can't do it himself. So he's pretty much dependent on us.
So really Meadow is going to give him more independence.
Yes.
Because I saw Meadow picking things up and bringing stuff to you. And that's what she can do without your Mom and Dad being there. So will Meadow bring you more independence?
Yes.
Good. Does that feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we love Mom and Dad, but we don't want them around all the time.
When Charlie was younger, a lot of the challenges we faced were physical challenges for Charlie that we could help him with. And as he's getting older, Charlie's in 3rd grade, we find a lot more of the challenges are social and finding ways for him to interact with his classmates and socially. And so we're just thrilled with his comments about Meadow, because that's one of the big pieces we hope Meadow brings to Charlie's life.
How hard has it been for Charlie to kind of being accepted, as it were?
You know, it's just been happening in the last, I'd say, couple months where he has said he doesn't want to go out in public because people stare at him. And we were at the mall. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay.
We were at the mall for our first outing on Saturday with her, and he left the mall and said he felt like a movie star because everybody wanted to see him at Meadow. So that in and of itself has made this whole thing worth it. I mean, she does nothing but help people see him and not the chair.
Yeah. So
I'm
having
sorry.
a dog, no, please,
having the dog, it makes him more approachable.
Makes you approachable, so people come up to you. And what was it like then? So before, when you were in the mall, you didn't like it that people were just looking at you, sitting in your chair, yeah? And now, what was it like then going to the mall the other day?
Like people wanted to come by me, see me.
Yeah.
And little kid tried to pet the little doggy.
So really, everyone, you kind of found out, instead of people looking at you all the time, they were like, wow, who's this guy with his dog? Did that feel good? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. So are you ready to be a movie star?
Yes.
Yes, good, good, I'm glad.
Every one of these families is so strong. They're so happy in their lives. You know, they don't walk around thinking that there is a problem, that they have a disability. They have issues. We all have issues. And theirs are just a little different than yours or mine. And particularly the kids are so resilient, and these dogs mean so much to them. Forget the task they do of picking up dropped items and opening and closing doors and turning lights off and on. The emotional support they get from having this dog with them just breaks so much social ice that it's a wonderful thing to see.
Charlie is brilliant. He's a brilliant young man who is very charming and funny, and nobody, I mean, I think it's hard for people when they see him. We do a great job in this country of saying, now you leave little Charlie alone. You know, don't bother little Charlie. And so it makes people feel afraid to say, what's the matter? Why do you use that? You know, we just get very nervous about those things. And in Charlie's case, Meadow is going to open the world socially for him in ways that I don't even think Charlie completely understands yet. You know, sometimes the fight to get out of bed every day is the biggest fight these people ever face. And one of the great gifts that the dogs give is that you have to get up. I mean, you have to let them out. Seriously, I think, you know, they say the statistics are around 65% of people who get assistance dogs go back to work or school within the first year after placement. And I say it's because you have to get up, let them out to go to the bathroom. You're up. But you know, it's also that when the dog looks at their person, you're damaged. And even your mom has to overlook your disability somehow. The dog looks up at you, they don't see that. It matters not at all to the dog. Because in the dog's eyes, you are the most perfect creation God has ever put on the face of this earth. And I can't tell you how I see that change people.
Being here at Canine Assistants really gives me a new appreciation of how lucky I am with the life that I lead. Also being able to witness these amazing dogs working with these incredible people that have to face such as adversity in their life. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I'm Victoria Stilwell for eHow Pets.